Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pears On A Pod, episode 3. It's a massive edition this week. We've had two very special guests so far, but I don't think this one will, top it? Yeah, let's say I think this one will overshadow them both because it's going to be the biggest episode yet. We've got Melbourne this week at the Adelaide level on Thursday night. But before we get to our guests, I've got to introduce the one and only Jack Hudson.
G'day, mate. How are you?
Yeah, my co-host. He's back again. How you feeling, mate? You all right?
No. Friday sucked. All day. I spent 8 hours at Adelaide Oval, watched the Sandville side get smacked, and then watched whatever the hell happened after that.
Yeah, look, I completely agree. I don't think I've recovered emotionally, physically.
No.
Anything.
Well, we got to get up, and I think we've got the hype man behind us here, haven't we, Ant?
We've got the voice of the Adelaide Oval, the voice of South Australia, the greatest of all men, I reckon. He speaks very good. His name's Jarrod Walsh. Walshy, welcome to Pears On A Pod.
Ant-Man, Hutto, thanks for having me on the Matt White Loving podcast. It's great. I tell you what, I listened to episode 2 with Matt White and we get it, Jack. You love him. You've got his top. We get it, mate. All right. Far out. It was uncomfortable about, I heard him just going, it's all good to be a fan, but you're chatting to a super fan. And he's like, I'm having a great time, boys, but I need to go do something which isn't this because you're starting to creep me out. Because you're like, hey, Matty, I'm outside your house. Thanks for everything you did for the club. You're my favorite player. I gave you a nickname. And we're like, yeah, it's good. Like, it's good to have a favorite player, but there is a real criminal aspect to stalking. So, but great episode.
I love how I've got this about Whitey, and Dad said, I think you with Boki is probably far worse.
It is far worse, but you know what the difference is?
What?
I don't have a podcast of it yet, so yours is all out there.
We literally have a bloody segment on Stephen Salopek.
I think it's great. You all have your favourite players and you'll have your obsessions, and that's what it's all about. So, hey, well done on the podcast as well, guys, because this is legitimately like a good Port Adelaide podcast. There's a fair few floating around which want to be as good as you two boys. Big power supporters, big Port Adelaide Football Club supporters. Even the club have said, hey, let's try and do one. But no, this is like real, like heartbeat of the Port Adelaide Football Club stuff with two legends. So thank you for having me on as guest number 3.
Love that.
I'll tell you what, that's the clip that I post to promote this because that is magnificent. And I reckon that could be intro worthy as well. We're still looking for an intro. Which I'll need to edit up. But Walshy, it's good to have you on, mate. The voice of Port Adelaide, the voice of every sporting team in South Australia, the voice of Australia, I reckon, because you're all over the world at the moment. Tell us, mate, what's been happening? What's been going on with you, and how you've been enjoying 2022 so far?
Well, it was pretty disappointing after Showdown. I guess the silver lining is it wasn't a Port Adelaide home game, so I didn't have to be at the venue to be part of that. But I don't know. Like I kind of feel after the past week, and I've like my last weekend was working with the 36ers in the NBL who lost, Adelaide United who lost, and then obviously we lost against the Crows. I'm really disappointed by some of South Australian supporters. I like can understand the connection that we have with sport and how it provides us with happiness, it provides us with joy, it provides us with sadness, it provides us with disappointment. But I'm kind of glad that I can step back away from that connection to go, man, it's a really tough job to be in, being a footballer, being a coach like Ken. Because if you think, we wouldn't be having any of the conversations this week if Travis kicked the goal, if Sam Mays didn't make that tackle and other things leading up to those events. So it's a real shame that those like moments lead into disappointing things. And I think through social media, you see a real ugly side of people that wouldn't be saying what they're saying if they encountered these players and coaches to their face. I know it's an ongoing thing about social media. So I guess the start of the footy season has been really disappointing for me, not because of the performances on the field, because I think we played pretty well in Showdown. We played pretty well against Brisbane. Hawthorn, we didn't. But it's also going into round 4. And the reaction is, I think, is really poor. So, it's a bit disappointing to see that this is where we are at, and leading into, it's every game's a must-win game for us, obviously, in a game that I'm confident that we'll beat Melbourne. I know that sounds weird, but I'm genuinely confident we'll beat Melbourne. Everybody's written like the club off and see you later, Ken Hinkley. And I don't buy into any of that stuff because I'm not, pardon the pun, in the inner sanctum.
No,
I said that on purpose.
Oh, Magnum.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
bit of the old plug. I don't mind that. But social media has been particularly bad this past week, and especially amongst like even Port fans. Like Anton, like we're all in the Port community on Twitter. We've seen this past week, and it has been bizarre. They're all like, there's always been the anti-Ken, the pro-Ken sort of brigade, but this week has particularly been bad. And I just, I don't get it.
I think as well, because for us, Hutto, and Walshy as well, we're sort of like that in between. Like we have a voice as such, and everyone wants to know our opinions, and we do read everything. Trust me, we read everything. And Hutto and I converse over certain things, and our DMs, trust anyone that's listening to this, and Walshy, you should know this too. Hutto and I DMs are probably worse than anything you ever see. And it's not directional to anyone. It's just the fact that how we feel, it's horrible. But in saying that, we always come into the week optimistic, no matter who we're playing. And I feel the same consensus. I don't know how it's possible, but I think we're going to beat Melbourne. I just have, it's one of those things where literally no one thinks we're going to win. We have no chance of winning, and we snag a 2-goal win.
You know what the funny thing is, boys? I have the same vibe.
Yeah, I see.
And the thing to clarify about Ant and I's DMs are it's pretty much just us in all caps lock writing fuck on repeat.
That's what I meant.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah, we abuse each other, and it's just capital letters. Like it's nothing bad, but it's just
it's all love.
I think it's a really challenging thing because like I'm obviously also conflicted because I'm an employee of the Port Adelaide Football Club. So I'm also like really mindful of how I present my views and my feelings towards where we're at the moment. But hand on heart, I trust the decision makers at the club, and I trust that they will make the right decisions, as in the powers that be. So if that ultimately ends in change at the end of the year, if they feel that that is the right decision for the club, then I have a full trust and belief in them. But I've also trusted everything that Ken has done right up to this point too, because like no matter the results, we've been really competitive, especially the past 2 seasons. Ken came into the club when we were just in dire straits, and I really feel that he's driven a lot of the change of culture there. So I just feel that we're so quick. And look, I'm really sick when it comes to losses. I love listening to talkback radio when the Crows lose, and I like listening when we lose, just to hear. It's a cross-section of society which represents a supporter base which, pay their memberships. They are allowed to vent their frustrations and their emotions because they're a paid-up member. They're allowed to do that. Social media is a little bit different because you're not a paid up member to social media. You can just create an account and abuse people. But the moment it gets personal, or the moment you start judging people on how they operate as a person in their chosen profession, it's ultimately like us going into KFC and saying, my burger is cold, and starting a riot saying this employee should be sacked. We're not going to do that. So because they've got public jobs, I understand the pressure that comes with it, but I just think sometimes the emotion probably goes a bit overboard, considering we're so early into the season and we know that anything happens in a showdown. For me now, it's how we respond as a team from this moment to see that competitive edge continuing, Obviously, we are down some injured players, and that's not an excuse, but they are key players. And I'm really optimistic we can bounce back from that. But if not, I'm optimistic and trustworthy that the right decisions will be made for not just the club, but the Port Adelaide community too.
Love
I think
that.
as well, and I'll sentiment now. I love that, and I love that approach. And I think as well, we're just going to remember it's round 4. Like, I took this mentality myself personally as a supporter coming into this year to take it 1 week at a time. No matter the situation, no matter the problems that we have, the injuries, whatever, we take it 1 week at a time. And a lot of people have jumped to the end, which is pretty poor because in a way, anything can happen in another 20 weeks. And there's so many variances to a season that 0-3, at this current stage doesn't sit well with a lot of people, but it's round 4. We get an opportunity. Thursday night footy against the D's. I think something will give, and Hutto, I think it could be this week.
I hope so. And I look at the 2 losses that we've had. Brisbane, it came down to one of the most bizarre sort of situations where missed opportunity at one end into Alir slipping on his backside and then injuring himself, resulting in a goal, which changed the game into the Hawthorn result, and then a kick after the siren, which did freakishly stupid shit, that ball.
Yeah.
I don't know how that happened. Still don't know how that happened, because I had the perfect angle of it, and I saw it just start coming back. I'm just like, you are taking the piss. So we've lost some close games just due to bad luck. Like dead set 3/4 time of the Brisbane game, I was like, get me to the G, September, let's go. I was ready to go.
I had a tweet ready to go, and it's probably put the mockers on us, but honestly, I was ready to write, I'm so happy for Todd Marshall.
Yes.
Because remember, again, these moments that lead up to everything in a match, and we always say if and all that stuff, but Boki gets the goal. We don't bomb it inside 50. We kind of hold up a little bit, especially when Trent McKenzie has the ball. So a couple of these things happen. Todd Marshall is a fair chance to win the medal if Boki doesn't.
Yep.
So we then, the week prior, everybody was saying Marshall needs to go. Now, I'm also very understanding and respectful of people's views when it comes to team selection. You are allowed to enforce an opinion. That is totally fine in the right way and the most respectful way, because I also know if I was in Todd's position reading those tweets and stuff, I'd be like, who the hell are you trying to tell me who I am as a person, let alone what I do for a job? But the whole story and the whole narrative changes. So we're really quick to chop and change. If we beat the reigning premiers on Thursday night, you can guarantee that those people that were calling Talkback Radio and on social media saying, get rid of Ken, they will be quiet because they've been satisfied that week. So it's almost, as you said, Ant, like it's a 1 week at a time approach to people's mentalities as well of like, there are football clubs that would be craving to make the finals, let alone a couple of prelims in a row. Yeah, we bowed out in really disappointing circumstances. But my gosh, what a great couple of seasons we had. And we still have the opportunity to get lots of success. Just take a breath. It's all good.
I don't mind it. Like if it's a down year, it's a down year, but we can rise again. It's happened before. It's very much happened before. So like I'm optimistic, especially for this weekend. If you boys are optimistic, then I'm optimistic. And like I feel that energy. And Walshy, there's one thing I've always like respected about you is when we're getting our asses handed to us like we were last week, you're still doing your job of hyping up the crowd. How do you manage to do that and like keep in the game? I know it's your job, but it must be tough.
Look, it has its moments, but I also feel like I need to be authentic with the mindset of the crowd. So at the end of the prelim last year when we lost to the Bulldogs, I was in a little bit of shock. So basically what happens at the start of the game, before the ball is bounced, we play Never Tear Us Apart. I go down the visitors race where the visiting team walks out. I go into a lift and it takes me up to level 4. By the time I got to that lift, Bailey Smith had kicked that first goal in the prelim. And I'm like, what is happening here? Yeah. So I'm in a bit of shock, but ultimately at the end of the match, I could stand up there and go, it didn't go our way. Bad luck. But honestly, the only difference between me and the fans is I've got the microphone and the pass to get on the field. So I need to echo what we are feeling as supporters, because I'm a supporter that just has the microphone. When it comes to like providing engagement and getting the energy up of the fans, yeah, that's my responsibility, because ultimately I want fan engagement and I want a Port Adelaide match day to not be results driven. I want people to go home and say, yeah, we didn't win, but we had a good time.
Yeah.
And that's, for me, is like, especially I look at kids, and the kids who are having a great time and have their scarves in the air, they won't remember the result. They'll remember the scarves and the fun things on the big screen. So for me, it's the mentality of saying, don't worry about the result. Just make sure everybody has a good time and has a bit of fun. So where we've got like the perfect pair segment, that's great, because at 3/4 time, we could be up by heaps or down by heaps, or it could be close, but you can hear people engaged in what's going on in the screen. And for one moment, they may forget if it's a poor result on the scoreboard, and they can just have a bit of fun with it. So yeah, it has its moments and it's challenging, but I love those challenges. I love like trying to, still be authentic, but also make sure people put a bit of a smile on their face to go, hey, we're at Adelaide Oval, the best ground in Australia, watching football. We haven't been able to do it for a couple of years. So let's just enjoy the fact that we can do this and not take it for granted, because there are people, even in South Australia, that have never been to Adelaide Oval before. And some Port Adelaide supporters get to go every home game. So let's never take that for granted.
That's for sure.
Yeah, perfect point. I think, we're fortunate enough. I get to attend every week, and no matter, like, if we could be 18th, like, for the next 5 years, I'll still be there attending every game, because being at the Adelaide Oval with supporters and being in that ground is something to behold. And I think I completely agree. Be grateful for the opportunity to be there, and no matter the circumstances of on field, at least off the field, you're going to have a good time. And that perfect pair point, last home game, was the peak, I think, of the perfect pair. Walshy, tell us firstly about the perfect pair and that whole idea, because a lot of people love it, and I think it's one of the greatest things that's been brought into a Port Adelaide game day experience. But what's it like post announcing the yes and no? Because I reckon there's a few tensions in those seats.
Yeah, so I'm going to give credit to Rosie Long, who works at the club. She now works at the Port store, and she's a legend. And she was the one that came up with the concept for the perfect pair a couple of years ago, because a lot of these dating shows were big on television, and she thought, let's do something a little bit different. So I put the call out for people to get involved and hit them up on social media or enter via the website for single people looking for love. So we'll introduce one of them before the ball is bounced, and then we'll bring out the other one. They'll reveal their face, and then they get to sit in a corporate area in the eastern stand for 3/4, and they get food and beverages. And then they hold up a sign saying yes or no. If both of them say yes, they're on a date. If one of them says no, then see you later. In the first year, they would have got to go into a singles party. I don't think that happens anymore. So it's really, there's a couple of reasons why I love it so much. First of all, I get the concept. I just explained it to you. But the football club are really supportive and trust me to just go with it. So I don't have a script or anything for it. So they'll just say, you know what you're doing, have fun. And I'm really mindful of a couple of things. I tell the people that are going to be on the big screen before we go on, I say, I'm going to make things a bit awkward. Are you comfortable with that? Yeah. If they say no, then I don't. I need them to know that I'm going to make them a bit uncomfortable. So I need their permission. I wouldn't feel right if I didn't do that. So then I try to make it as uncomfortable as possible. And then I'll go up there at 3/4 time, and I don't know the vibe or anything. We've had a camera on them the whole time, but I haven't seen any of that stuff. So then I will sit down in between them both with a little bit to go in that 3rd quarter. And I'll say to the guy, how's it all going? You're all good. Do you have an idea of what you're going to say? And same to the girl. I won't let them tell each other. So sometimes, like last year, I said to one of the girls, how are you feeling? She's like, yeah, I'm not sure. And I said, look, it's okay if you say no, if you don't want to do it. Wink once if you're saying yes, wink twice if you're saying no. And she did the double wink. And I'm like, that's all good. Because also, like, the other thing I want to be really mindful of is I'm fine with blokes getting rejected. But I don't want in a public setting, a young woman to be feel like embarrassed and ashamed. Yeah, it's important that the guy gets support as well. But in that environment, I don't want people laughing at them because they got rejected, because ultimately they're on a dating segment, so they need to feel supported.
Yep.
So, yeah, the one on the weekend was pretty full on. So Nicole, and I can't remember the other guy's name, which was really poor of me, but she wasn't having a bar of it at all. At all. So I sat down at 3/4 time and she's like, no, he's too old for me. She's like, oh, yeah, he's 36 or something. I'm like, I'm 38. Thanks. But she wasn't having a bar of it. And then I think he seemed to have a happy time with it, but she just wanted to get out of there. And I like when people say no, just because it shows that it's a real thing. You don't want everybody saying yes. So the fact that we've had a no already, is a good thing. He was fine afterwards. And I like to make that moment awkward. And one of the things, like I said earlier, the greatest thing about fan engagement is I can tell people are watching. So you can hear the reaction. Sometimes with stuff on the big screen, you think nobody's watching anything because they're all doing stuff like going to the bathroom or getting food or sitting down or preparing for the match. But you know that everyone's eyes are glued to the screen for the perfect pair. So I do enjoy it. There's still a lot more to come with it. I think we have a lot more growth in what we can do with it, and there's definitely opportunities for that. But it's something I look forward to because of those reasons.
It's. Well, I think I texted you a few times like after it, just going like, my God, like, and usually saying like you did a wicked job of that, because it's probably my favourite part of going to the footy aside from the football. Like, I'll literally not do a thing at 3/4 time so I can see how badly or how good this goes, because it's just remarkable.
It's all authentic. I promise you, none of it is staged. There's no fabricating. There's no you're going to say this, you're going to say this. It is 100% all real. Like, and there's been some good stories from it. Like, I think last year it was Chad Corns' sister was on it. And I think that they're together now. Like, they're a couple. Her and the guy from the perfect pair. Yeah. So they, unless they've broken up since, like, they've been seeing each other. So there's been some good stories like that.
That's crazy. Like full blown works, which is awesome. Like, it's great to have that sort of fan engagement, I think, and that's like, it's far more entertaining like than when I was going to the footy when I was younger at Footy Park. And God, I sound like I'm 80, but that's what it was. There was never really that sort of interaction. Like, I still remember, like, years and years ago, there was this big. Do you remember Ant at Footy Park, or even you, Walshy, the big float with the power fist?
Yeah.
It's like, this shit is weird. Part of me really hopes that the club still has it, because I feel like they should just bring it back for the shits and giggles one week. But it's so much better now, and I feel like you do a terrific job as well, Walshy. So,
thanks, man. One of the things when it comes to Port and a match day that I have loved from day one. So I had opportunities to work with the club before we moved to Adelaide, and I said no. Because I wasn't really feeling it at the time. I was playing hockey pretty competitively, which is a weird sentence, but so I was focusing on that. But then the opportunity to start at Adelaide Oval. What I love about the club and our match day is the people that are behind the creation of it all are courageous. They like to kind of take risks. They go, let's try something, and if it doesn't work, we won't do it again, but we've got to try it. They, you know, in 2014, when we had that showdown, I remember you were talking to your bloody obsessed stalker guy, Matty White, last week, and he's still got that T-shirt, right? He's got that T-shirt, the Never Tear Us Apart T-shirts. That game was massive, and I remember that. So they put the T-shirts on all of the seats. They invested all this money. Then the following year, the club goes, we want to do the same, but with less money, which is an obvious thing. But what the club did is gone, cool, let's try new things, and let's challenge ourselves. So every year they are challenging each other to make it really new, fresh, make the fan engagement fun, bold, risk-taking. And I think that's also the benefit of being in a two-team town where the Crows not necessarily have that brand associated with them of doing those things. So it means that we've always had this little brother kind of, or little sister mentality as a football club. It means we can try stuff. And I feel that has shifted so much, where we are the cool brand with our merchandise and the way that we market ourselves and stuff. I really feel that the Port Adelaide brand, when it comes to a game day, and honestly, when we have Never Tear Us Apart, in the visitors race, the 3 emergencies stand there and the club officials from the away team. So at the Hawthorn game, I stood down the visitors race and I watched the Hawthorn representatives watch Never Tear Us Apart. So I always watch the visiting team look around and go, wow. And you can tell they're thinking, I wish we were a part of this. So it makes me really proud to go that we're part of a club that wants to continually strive to be the best and evolve.
Yeah. Bloody oath.
I think as well with that is, as you said, every year you've tried something different. I still wish they had the DJ, because the DJ was a very, like, I don't know, it created an atmosphere of a festival. And when you go to the footy, you want that edge, you want that, oh, we're not just here for a game, we're here for the atmosphere, and that was a part of it. But was there an idea that was on the table that we haven't seen before that was just wild, or probably not safe for work? Anything that was just too far,
edgy,
that could have happened.
There were certainly ideas. Yeah, leading into 2020, I think there were certainly ideas because we needed to challenge ourselves. But 2020 just ripped everything to shreds. It was like we couldn't do any activations on the field. We couldn't even go down there. So everything was up in that kind of box. And then obviously all finances get taken away. So you have to operate everything on a shoestring budget. But, there's certainly things that we have done. Like I use the example of having an idea and trying it and it didn't work. We had a couple of years ago a Westhoff cam where it literally had a beard walking around and you tried it. This is before face filters came in and we were watching it going, this is not working. So we never saw that again. But unless we tried it, we wouldn't know. So I guess it's having the courage to try stuff and also having the courage to reflect and go, let's just not do that one again. But yeah, I think the good thing is that having the opportunity to work with the sponsors too. So like with KFC coming on board, who would have known that a Hamish Hartlett TV commercial turned into something that starts off the quarters now with the drums? That happened organically because we associated an idea with a brand like KFC to do things like that. So I think there's always just ways of trying to think outside the box and tailoring the message to an audience in an arena or a stadium.
I miss the kicking for chicken if we're talking about KFC. That was so fun. That was a great segment.
Yeah, there's been lots of those ones which have been really good. Again, like we probably would still be doing it if we could have been on the ground in 2020. But then we just had to rethink everything because nobody knew when we were allowed back out on the ground. Like we'd have a post-match interview and I'd have to throw down to Daniel Norton because he was in the bubble doing the interview with a clean microphone. It was really disjointed. I still think we did a good job, but it was still really challenging.
Nort's, what a man. He's a good
man.
He is a great man. Walshy, has there been a favourite moment whilst being the MC of Port Adelaide of yours?
Yeah, I've got lots of favourite moments, actually. I've got, so that the first time I heard Rudimental at that showdown in 2014, I had no idea that was coming. And I love that song and just the organic clapping from everybody. That for me was the perfect Port Adelaide day. Like it was a little bit hot. So there was I was a bit sweaty. So that's probably the only downside. But for us to win that match, and, you spoke to the guy that you stalked, Matty White, about it. But everything for that, leading up to that moment, it was, I don't know, it just everything clicked. I've had some really good moments with the football club, whether it's going over to Shanghai with them for 2 years, which was incredible. It's not just the club that's been really good to me. It's the whole community embracing me, which I'm really, really appreciative of and grateful for. So moments like that, Stephen Motlop kicking that goal was awesome in a match, but also things like, I feel sometimes, I know it sounds a bit weird, but when I'm on the microphone at key moments, I feel like I'm really part of it. So if I'm standing on the microphone doing the Anzac ceremony, I feel like I'm really part of it. And it gives me just such pride to be able to do that because my grandfather fought in the war. So I feel being part of that ceremony is a really special honor, which not many people will get the opportunity to do. So I really feel like it's the little moments that bypass everybody else that I really take time to absorb and go, this is a really special thing. But I've also had moments where, honestly, like in 2020, I lost my job in radio and I had to work at the Port Essendon match that year. We had hardly any people there. And leading up to that, the club said, well, no one's allowed to come to the game. Like, it was just like limited tickets, but we would like to invite your family to come and watch the game, which was really nice. And I remember walking to the elevator and someone yelled over the top tier and he said, hey, mate, the Port Adelaide Football Club are behind you. And I didn't know this person. And I'm like, that is so beautiful to say that. So I couldn't feel more connected to the community, which for me is probably the most important thing, because there's going to be a time where I'm not on the microphone and I'll be in the stands with the community. So as I said, the only difference is I've got the microphone. So it's going to be an easy transition to go back out into the crowd when Ant takes over, because I feel like it's moments like that. Even in the Hawthorn match, you know, having to chat with Brett Ebert. I went to school with Brett and with the same year level, the same classes, and I've got the most amazing Russell Ebert memory I'm happy to share with you. But to have the opportunity to be part of Russell's reflection because of the kind and generous person that he was, and speak to Brett and understand the sentiment that I wanted to speak with Brett about, I think it's moments like that go, everyone wants to feel a part of something. And I think we as a football club and a community do it really well through the good times and the really challenging times.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Honestly, I think you did a ripping job as well with that. Like, it was like you could generally feel the love in that. And now I am curious about the Russ story. Please tell us.
Yeah. So we went to Shanghai. This is the first year I went to Shanghai in 2018. And I was pumped, right? Like, all I wanted to do was go to the fake markets and buy my wife a rip-off handbag. And so where Jingwan Stadium was, it was one train stop away from the fake handbag place. So I was pumped. Wanted to get some fake Yeezys and like also go to the football game. So for those of you who have seen the venue on broadcast, so we played Gold Coast and we played St Kilda, or we swapped it or whatever. There's the big kind of castle looking thing in the background on the wing. Nobody knew that the day before the match, all of the seat covers were in boxes. So these cushion kind of seat covers where nobody was sitting, they just wanted to make it look like it wasn't like an old castle looking thing. Oh. So the humidity was disgusting. Like, I'm still sweating out of parts of my body I didn't know existed from that trip. The sun was glaring down. Now that one of the guys who used to look after the commercial team, Richard Kelly, he had heat stroke and almost passed out while setting up these chairs. Jeez. So I was there for a rehearsal just to have a look at the venue. And I'm like, whenever I work in an event, I'm not like, I'm going to rock up, do my mic test and say, see you later. I want to immerse myself in everything. So I'm setting up the chairs with everyone. I'm like, yeah, I'm here to do this. No problem. And I looked to my right and there was Russell Ebert, the greatest player in our history, one of the greatest, if not the greatest South Australian footballer of all time. He is taking these bloody chairs out of these cardboard boxes and setting up every last one. He's walking over to Richard Kelly, giving him water. Margie, who's also been such a big part of the club, she sits on the wing on the western side. She was doing the same. These people are in their 60s, their 70s, approaching their 80s. And I look at it and go, if this isn't like too degrading for the greatest of all time, then everybody should be doing this. And I just sat there and observed Russell Ebert setting up chairs in the stinking hot Shanghai just to help out his match day team. He didn't need to do that. He could have been off doing what he wanted to do as an ambassador for the club, doing community events. And I said to Brett, like, everybody has a Russell story, but for me, that really, like, it just defined who he was. Like, nothing was ever too difficult for him. And he always wanted to help other people, no matter the situation. So that will always really stick as a real highlight for that Shanghai trip, because I just got to see the hard work being put in, and he just never stopped giving. So it was a really lovely moment. It's a bit different because it's not something he did on the field or something that I witnessed at a community event. This was just him when nobody was watching, the cameras weren't on, but he was just getting it done.
That's awesome. That probably, I think, is the perfect summary of Russell Ebert right there. Just willing to give his time to the club and to everyone. And I think that's what Timmy G said very much as well when we spoke to him a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just so immersed in that story because that's just, we've heard a lot of on-field stories and hearing what Timmy G had to say, but have that, especially in a place like Shanghai, which was a whole new adventure for the club, and to have Russell's there setting up the chairs, that's what a story.
There's so many things that people didn't see about Shanghai, like Uncle Carl Telfer and his Yelika group. They came over with us to do a welcome to country in Shanghai to show what the Indigenous culture was all about. There were little clinics being put on. Like this game got shit canned by everybody, and I get it. Like it was pissing down with rain in one of them, so everybody was in the corporate tents which weren't on broadcast. Not everybody went there, and it was more than a football game as well. It was the potential to have relations with potential commercial deals in China. The idea and the way that everybody banded together, and it's probably the best way that I got connected with the football club, because say, for example, the guy who used to work in membership, who's probably the biggest Port supporter I know, apart from you two guys, he'd bring up the junior mascot to me every game, and I'd say, "Hey, mate, how you going?" After that trip, I could then go, "Hey, Benny D, how are you, man? Let's talk about your family. You grew up on Kangaroo Island." Like, it gave me an understanding of who does what at the football club and made these really nice connections with everybody to go, yeah, we see the on-field team where that's win, lose, or draw. But there is such a bigger team working behind the scenes that don't get the credit that they should, because without them, the on-field team wouldn't be a success at all. There's so many people that put together this football club. And ultimately, the players are the ones that are high paid and the ones that have high pressure jobs on the field. But everybody has a high pressure job, and everybody needs to come together, just like the on-field team, if they want to get success, however that's measured.
Yeah. Benny D is very much up there in terms of Port fans. I'm pretty sure he used to lead the March on the Wall.
Yeah, I reckon he would. Yeah, he's a great man.
Just have the microphone. That was always a fun time. I missed the March from the Wall. It was good shit.
We need to get that going again. Maybe Hardo and I start.
I'll be knackered halfway there, man. My calves would go.
Why don't you do get on the purple scooters?
Scoot from the mall.
Scoot from the mall. We generally have to get the cops involved for that one.
Yeah, we do. We want a private escort all the way down to the Oval on our scoots.
Oh God, that was good shit. We've heard a lot of the serious side of things, a lot of serious stories. Now, what about sort of the funny side? What sort of interactions have you had, like with the players, even with the fans? Just some real nitty gritty. What's some of the funniest stuff that you've encountered while working for Port?
I like walking around the ground when I get there and just bantering with everybody, saying hello. Like, if someone holds out a beer for me, I'll probably sneak a sip, because that's all right. Like, we're Port people, whatever. But to be able to walk around, we normally just hang around like the southern end where the riverbank stand is. We never really go out to the northern end. So I try my best to go out there and just say hello to people. Like, we don't understand the power of like thunder power waving to someone or someone getting on the big screen. I also, one of the most uncomfortable moments that I had at a showdown. So I'm like, as I said, I'm pretty balanced when it comes to my football. Like, I've got a lot of friends that play or have played for the Crows. And I had a showdown where I was about to go on the microphone, and Eddie Betts, who's a really good family friend of mine, he kicked a footy at me. And I turned around and he came up, gave me a hug. Then Brodie Smith and Charlie Cameron, they were standing there talking to me. And I'm like, hey guys, I'm about to go on camera and you play for the opposition. You are in Crow's gears. You need to get the hell away from me right now, because this is not a good look. We can chat later, And they were pissing themselves because anytime I got on the microphone, they would just run past and try and heckle me. And then I'd always get near Hamish Hartland and I'd go, "Hi, Hamish." And he'd go, "Mate, can you stop following me?" It's like full Matty White style. So he was like, yeah, I like that. But it's great. I think like through football, I've been able to meet some pretty really special people that have moved on to different clubs. So it's probably those moments that I really enjoy, just bantering with them, because I have to say, you're part of the opposition. I don't care about you, but it's said with like a really nice feeling about it. So there's always moments like to prepare that things go wrong when you're on the microphone. Like we had like a drum cam for KFC, and my co-host Rosie, she's like 2 foot tall, but coincidentally the KFC drums were right at the line of her chest. So it made it look like that she was just hitting herself. And I had to say, "You can't do that." And I'm trying to tell the people upstairs going, "You can't do that." And they just keep moving around. When we stuff up and stuff, I think it's the best. Like I love that element, because it shows that we're just live and having a bit of fun, especially like with Timmy G's halftime highlights. That's always loose. And it's the best. It's lots of fun being able to do that.
My favorite one of yours, and I think it's your favorite one, is the voice break at Adelaide United. But have you had anything to that level at Port?
Well, kind of. So when my voice broke at Cooper Stadium, I didn't create the meme that happened afterwards. Like someone else created the meme, which is like when you go through puberty in front of 50,000 people. But I could have responded to that in 2 ways. Like I could have said, "No, that didn't happen," and then realized what everybody heard it, everybody saw it. Or I could have gone, "Well, I'm going to make that a part of me," because I really cared at that time at the grand final of Adelaide United. I really wanted us to win. So I could identify why my voice broke, because I was just so nervous and I was so pumped. So now whenever my voice breaks, people say like on social media, "Oh, it wouldn't be like a live sporting event without a Jarrod Walsh voice break." And they're saying it in a positive way. So I really enjoy that. So like through the football, I always get worried at the end that when I say full time, like when we win a game this year, I'll be like full time at Adelaide Oval and the winners blah blah. It's the power. And if I hold on too long, my voice will break. So Thursday night, be prepared for that. But if it happens, I'll go, "That's fine. That's absolutely fine," because we won the match. I always prepare for that kind of stuff, but the voice break is lots of fun. And it's funny, like when you do little activations with kids, that's always fun, because they're either really good or really shit, but both having like their benefits, because the crowd are entertained with that kind of stuff.
Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
Yeah, exactly.
God, I love that name.
Yes, that's how we describe football at the moment. But anyway, should we get into some quick fire questions, Hutto?
Yes, we should. Get Walshy under the microscope of what we actually do as the Inner Sanctum's introduction as well.
Okay. This is the Inner Sanctum's introduction to any new member. This is how we know if you're worthy or not, and we already know you're worthy or not to be a part of the Inner Sanctum. In fact, you're probably better than Hutto, but this will double check that. So let's go through some quick fire questions with Jarrod Walsh. Walshy, what's your favourite TV show?
Oh man, I've got it's a Breaking Bad and Yellowstone. Can't split them. Breaking Bad would be the greatest of all time. Yellowstone's getting very close.
Yes.
Respectable answer. We're off to a good start, Ant.
Yeah, I like that. And after doing the Speak Good cinema, that was we found that out, so that was very good. Your go-to karaoke song?
Sweet Caroline, Neil Diamond.
Oh,
beautiful.
Yes.
Well, she's got bang bang.
I sang Sweet Caroline in Vanuatu at a karaoke bar, and without getting too personal, that's the night my wife has been the most attracted to me. That's all I'm saying. And I finished off by just going, "Hey, thanks, love you, Vanuatu, make some noise." They had no idea what hit them, and I'm just drinking bloody whatever the Tusker draft or whatever it is, and I'm blind, and I'm just going da da da. And
were they getting involved with it?
Yeah, they loved it.
Oh, sweet, good.
I thought they're probably thinking, why is Steve Monaghetti in Vanuatu singing karaoke?
Oh, that's good. It's very good.
Steve Monaghetti.
We need to bring back the lookalike question, Ant.
I might bring it back next week. Your favourite Simpsons character?
I don't like The Simpsons.
Oh.
Like I don't know enough about the characters to say I love any of them. So no, get stuffed. Get in the bin.
That's how have we gone
controversial.
How have we gone 2 from 2 for this, Ant? And both Whitey and Walsh have gone, yeah, don't really watch it. I'm actually dumbfounded.
It's controversial, I know, because everybody frosts over Simpsons memes. We get it, the Simpsons memes. Well done. No, I don't. Whatever.
Fair bump, play on.
I think you better start asking that question before we get people on, because it's not gone too well the first 2 weeks. Your favourite flavour of potato chip?
I like the Red Rock sea salt and balsamic vinegar.
Yes. Great call.
You have to be specific with that, though, because they're not too overpowering. They've got a really nice little taste about them. Yeah, they're good.
Like Dad said, if I think of the Smiths ones, my mouth like melts.
Correct. Yeah, they're ambitious, though, the Smiths ones. You're like, I can eat a whole packet of this. And then you're like, no, I can't. I need to have 2 bottles of water. Yeah.
My mouth is fucked.
Correct. Okay.
Brilliant.
What about the chips? Oh, okay.
Yeah, fair bump. Play on.
Yeah.
Not
That's
bad.
a real swing. Swing and a ding.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. The 2 most controversial questions are at the Sanctum at the moment. Doors or wheels, Walshy?
Doors or wheels?
Yeah, what are there
What's
more
there
of in the
more
world?
I think there are more doors in the world.
Excellent. Good. No,
Okay,
we're going 2 from 2
yeah,
from this. Yeah, excellent.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bang, bang. And finally, favourite flavour of shapes?
Barbecue shapes.
Fuck!
Yeah.
Yes! Come on!
Yeah.
That's how you do it, you crimp simp, Hutto.
Look, you win some, you lose some. Full credit to the boys, 1 week at a time. Shit.
We'll go back and work harder.
Yeah, exactly. We'll have a good hard look at ourselves in the team review, all that sort of jazz. That's rattled me, Walshy. I'm disappointed.
Well, I'm sorry for not loving the things that you love, but this is not about you.
That's where you're wrong.
That's why he started this whole thing.
Yes. Ant's just
That's
my
fair
sidekick.
He makes me host it and does everything. Like, seriously. He actually had his first name for the pod was Hutto on a Pod.
Oh, that is such bullshit.
Well, it's about time you joined
like,
a real podcast, Hutto.
Yeah, I know. It's after Tugger sacked me, so.
No, he didn't sack you. It's just, yeah. How good's this beer?
Oh, so good. I need another one.
Shit. All right, should we go into the segments, Hutto?
Yes.
All right, first cab off the rank is the pair player of the week. Hutto, your time to shine, mate. Who is your pair player of the week?
I love this guy. And we mentioned him earlier, Toddy Marshall, without a doubt. 5 goals. Absolutely nailed it. And to all the pricks on Twitter that keep abusing him, get stuffed. Eat that. That was awesome. 5 goals. Took the absolute PI 55 out of Billy Frampton, which was even better being an export boy. So it was just enjoyable to watch and see him actually get his reward for his effort.
Yep. Completely agree. And I'm glad. I've got to stop throwing to you first because you just picked the player that everyone else will pick. Walshy, who's your pair player of the week?
Trent McKenzie. I was really concerned that Trent McKenzie was going to be out for the season in the Brisbane match. And then for some reason he came back against Hawthorn, hurt himself again. Then he was back. I like the stories that are associated with these players that have probably things haven't worked out at their previous club and they've found a way through resilience and hard work to find a place. And, he didn't play in his first year when he came to Port Adelaide. He was basically back in the Maggies. So for him to find a spot and to play really well, He didn't have his best game in the showdown, but I think to see what he's done after that adversity, and especially, I mean, with a considerable injury and the fears that he would have had, there would always be doubt going into contests and leaping off just in case something was going to happen again. So I'm a big fan and big raps for Trent McKenzie.
Love the cannon. That's good. Now,
Love
there's no prizes for guessing who Ant's going to be.
Matt White?
No, well, I was going to change it up this week, but after what I've seen on social media about his goal kicking, I'm just going to tell people to get stuffed. I'm picking Travis Bloke again, simply because the way he played was sensational, and I had him booked in for the medal at halftime. He was that good. My mate who took me to the game, he was sitting next to me and goes, "Gee, Bo, he doesn't look like he's done a lot." I've said, No. He's had about 15 touches to halftime. He's doing great in fantasy. And did you see that last goal he kicked? Sam Mays was running back, and Bokey started at the inside defensive 50, and he's ran all that way to celebrate with Sam Mays after kicking a goal. You're not watching him right. And then to see everyone after that, I mean, yes, all right, we should have kicked the set shot goal, but I'm not going to judge him on that. All right, his shoulders are probably sore from carrying the rest of the lot. Okay, so
whack.
Get stuff to anyone that is telling him to practice his goal kicking. It was unfortunate, and Travis Bloke's my player of the week. Simple.
Yep, I'm very much looking forward to Trav being your player of the week again next week.
You guys know what happened with the voting as well, why it was so delayed for the showdown medal? Because Mark Bickley at 5AA, he couldn't get his sent via text because everybody was on their phone after that goal, after the siren. They had to double check everybody's votes because obviously after Dawson kicked that goal, they needed to double check everybody's vote. So Bickley was trying to send his through, but the messages were bouncing because everybody was using their phones at the same time. So that's why it was so delayed, because the votes hadn't come through yet.
I'm so glad that Bix missed out on sending his votes in time so I could tweet that I wish someone could throw me off the roof line because I was that angry.
Yes, and I could tweet out no words.
Yes.
And just not tweeted. So
yeah.
Sorry, Bix.
Yeah, unlucky.
Sorry, anyone that had to wait. Mate, guess what? Hutto and I are above in the food chain, buddy. Sorry. All right, it's time to move on to the next best segment that's on Pears on a Pod. It's called Obscure Port Adelaide Players. Hutto, who's yours?
Right. Keeping with the showdown theme as well, this bloke did actually play for the Crows once upon a time, or was on their list at some point, but he played during 2012, was a rookie. Darren Pfeiffer played 16 games.
Oh, you're kidding!
You have not gone Darren Pfeiffer.
I did.
Yeah. We've got the same player. You are taking the piss.
I swear to God, I've written down here on my little notes, look, Darren Pfeiffer right there.
Oh my God. Well, that's never going to be topped. But yes, it had a relatively decent 2012 season, especially when we had that good run in the middle of the year. And I'm even happier that I've pitched Ant's obscure player. So yeah, Darren Pfeiffer is my obscure player of the week.
Far out. You've got to be kidding me. How does that happen? That's episode 3 and we've already matched. We're the perfect pair.
I know we are. Aren't we adorable?
We're a cute, cuddly, perfect pair. Walshy, do you have an obscure Port Adelaide player?
Yeah, I do. He is a West Australian. He was drafted by the Eagles in the 1997 AFL draft. He played 15 games for West Coast and then in 2002 made his way to Port Adelaide. So just missed out on the premiership team. He only kicked a couple of goals for the Power in the preseason in his 4 games, and his name is Jackson Crabb.
Oh,
yes,
Jackson Crabb. Yes. That's great. That is very good.
I love that. That's the most obscure we've had, I reckon.
Oh, that is well done, Walshy. Now you got to think on the spot, Ant. So enjoy that.
Cameron Hitchcock.
Ah,
yeah, good.
There you go.
He played 35 games, wore 45 and number 2 between 2010 and 2014, and he was our answer to John Cock with a Hitchcock. So.
Yes.
He used to live with Jasper Pittard and John Butcher on Military Road in a place that they called the Hut. That was what they called it. Just the
Yes,
Hut. I remember
did.
I had to organize a basketball jersey for them, a Chicago Bulls one that said the Hut on the back of it.
Oh my
Oh
god!
my God.
But then slowly but surely, one player left the Hut, another player left the Hut, and then the Hut is no more.
Oh,
Oh.
who was the last one left in the Hut? Would have been Pittard, wouldn't
Pittard was the last one left at the Hut. Yep.
it? Ah.
Pizza Hut is no more.
Jasper the Hut.
Jasper, the Pit Hut.
Pit Hut. Yeah, that's not bad. But
Pit
oh,
Hut.
it's the Hut. I remember he took a hanger in a preseason showdown once. He was one of those guys that
2012.
he just tore the living shit out of the preseason. He didn't do too bad in the regular season. But
Had a great left foot, even though he was a right footer.
yes, that's always a handy skill to have.
Yes, I just remember that because he was great for the 35 games he played. And you know what else? He was the only player ever to wear the highest number to the lowest number, 45-2.
I like that. That's a
There
really
you
good
go.
stat.
Thank you.
Very
So
good stat.
not bad for thinking on the spot, Hutto. Hey.
Very good stat.
Touche. Bet you had a backup lined up
Touche.
just in case in the off chance I picked Darren Pfeiffer.
No, I didn't. I've just got it listed up here on the PC, so it's all good.
Yeah, not bad, mate.
Let's go into something a lot better than matching obscure players. Let's go to our love child, our player that we love to talk about, I love to obsess over, and it's not Matthew White, Walshy. It's Better Call Sal in a segment about Steven Salopek.
Salopek finishes.
Yes.
Hutto, kick us off. What is your favourite Steven Salopek moment this week?
So this one you won't be able to match, which is good. And it was a good old family day actually with Sal, and I'm going to dig up the treasured memories because I actually got a photo with the great man. I do have somewhere
Did you?
deep down somewhere in the Hutto archives, alongside the word Port shaved in the back of my head for the 2007 Grand Final. I have a photo with Steven Salopek, which I will post to socials once I can find it. That is my memory of meeting the great man himself.
No, really?
Yeah, I've got to find it.
So you've never mentioned to me that you met him?
I thought you would have met him as well at a family day.
Probably did, 2007. That was the day Kane Corns told me to wait my turn. He did.
There's a funny thing. I answered a question to Brendan Lade, so I think I had a better experience that day than you did.
I'm legit lining up to get the signatures. I'm like 10 years old. This is 2007 preseason. It's the family day. It's the same day that my dad had a conversation with Warren Treadray, and it was the happiest day of his life. And I'm there lining up to get a signature from all the blokes. I was sitting there waiting, and Kane's like, "Can you just move over and wait your turn instead of us all lining up in a group? Just do a one-line formation." And yeah, Steven Salopek was at the end of that, so I've got his signature on my on my Guernsey. But
Bloody
yeah,
Kane.
that was a strange day. strange day. Walshy, do you have a Steven Salopek one?
Yeah, but it's a little bit obscure because Stephen was part of a group of friends with Brett Ebert, Warren Treadray, and Troy Chaplin. And we got to know Troy really well. And I know that a lot of people at the club don't like Troy Chaplin, but I got to know him really well. And my kind of link to that is as a player before Troy left the club, I could see that he was going to turn into be a coach. As a player, he was doing the majority of the coding at the end of a match. So a lot of the senior players at the time were being taught how to do coding. So he would literally sit down at the conclusion of a match and do all of the coding because he was just obsessed with it. So then getting the opportunity to go to Richmond as one of the first free agents and then going to Melbourne, where now he's a successful premiership assistant coach, without knowing much about Steven Salopek, that kind of introduced me to that group of guys. And it was, it was nice. They had their own little clique back then. And that was, I reckon, before the whole transformation of the club, like just before 2014 was where everything kind of shifted, even like that last year at Adelaide Oval, at Amy Stadium. So Stephen, I'm more so remembering from his off-field, like his friendship groups, about how I got to know certain people. And I mean, also like he wore the number 3, didn't he?
Yep.
Correct.
Yeah. So he's always stands out as like. Can you list off all the number 3s who have played for our club?
We got Brent Montgomery's another one. Jake Mead,
Ryan
Birdo.
So they're not average players who wear the number 3. So they're all pretty decent on their day. Premiership player, obviously, with Montgomery, and Burton's doing really well. So the number 3 certainly stands out as well.
That's a nice one.
Yeah.
That's more wholesome than what Maddie's was last week.
I'm quite a wholesome guy, though.
I know
I'm not going
that.
to say, he's my favourite player. I've got one of his Guernseys. Oh, gosh, show us your bloody flame tattoo on your calf, brother. Like, I'm not going to do that.
We've been thrown under the bus. You're another one who wore number 3, Campbell Heath. And there's a good obscure player.
Oh, yes, that's an obscure player. Yeah, he had a good left foot.
Yes, and Shane Brewer kicked our first goal.
Oh, yeah.
Shane Brewer, that's right. I remember Shane Brewer. Who was at Geelong as well.
Yes.
Correct.
There we go. We have had some quality wear the number 3.
We've had great quality, but nothing beats Sal.
Yeah, not even Monty and his flag, going stuff.
Nah. Should have put Sal in there with his flag. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, if Stephen Salopek was a premiership player, I think he'd be goated.
Yep, absolutely. Better than Ablett. All that sort of jazz.
100%. Easy. My Better Call Saul, Stephen Salopek at the moment is it's just a standard one, but 2006 in Darwin, that game that was probably the ugliest game of football I've seen in Darwin. Michael Pettigrew kicked 3 goals to win us the game, and it was in a year where
Pettigrew's kicking 3.
He kicked 3, played up forward, and we kicked 14 goals, 21 that day.
Yes.
But good fact about it, we won by 14 points, and Stephen Salopek kicked the first goal of the game.
Do you know that's another good fact about that game, Ed?
What's that?
It was the debut of the great Greg Bentley.
Yeah, yes. Bentley. What a man. Number 41.
Yeah.
Turned into 22.
Yeah. That is another mission of ours. We'll get Greg Bentley on the podcast.
Yeah, let's get Greg Bentley.
Yeah.
We could have Better Call Bentley.
No, what? Bend it like Bentley. There we go.
Bend it like Bentley. Hey, Walshy, have you heard about the interesting stat that I know about Greg Bentley and the car company Bentley?
No, that's a cool story, though.
Get wrecked, man. Get wrecked.
That's shocking. That's a piss take. Well, anyway, the stat was, just for your information, even though you didn't want to know it, is the fact that he had more Guernsey sales than Bentley sold in Australia.
Really?
No. It's a piss take.
Oh, God.
Yeah, get wrecked, Walshy.
I've got. What about this? You can do this. Can I give you a segment idea?
Yes.
Yeah, go on.
What about before the Maggies came into, before all of players had to disperse and go play for the Maggies, listing off a Port player and then listing off the Sandful club that they played for.
Oh.
So you say Greg Bentley, I go Sturt straight away, right? So there's a nice little challenge. I don't want to tell you how to do your jobs, but you're welcome.
We could get exposed here, Ant, for how fuck all we know.
Exactly.
This is just a segment about Salopek, all right? Let's just chill out.
Sorry.
One thing at a time, please.
Glenelg, though.
Yeah. Gee whiz.
Hey, Walshy, would you like to be a co-host?
I'd love to, anytime.
All right, done. We'll lock you in every week from now on. Hutto can organise your contract, and we'll go from there.
Just like I've got you contracted as well.
So just lock it in. I'm ready to go.
Contracted with love. One final thing before we do finish off the potty is I just want you to tell your story about what you do pre-game, because when I went to your Speak Good, it was such a fantastic experience to hear what you do pre-game as you walk onto the oval and you just take everything in. Just tell everyone what you do pre-game, because it's such a great story.
Yeah, so I don't take for granted the opportunity I've got to be on Adelaide Oval or any event that I do, because there was someone doing it before me and there'll be someone doing it after me, which will be Ant, obviously. So whenever I get to Adelaide Oval, I'm there a couple of hours before the ball is bounced, and probably an hour before our meeting. So I will walk to the middle of the ground. No, it's a bit weird, but I'm a bit OCD, so I don't stand on the 50-meter line or the center square like where the paint is, in case it's just been painted, but I also want to step over it. Then I walk literally to the middle, and I just close my eyes and I take a breath for about a minute, and I just listen, because I know that that moment is not something that everybody gets to have. So I really take it all in, knowing that also in an hour or so time, there's going to be 30, 40, 50,000 people screaming, and the sounds are going to be really different. So I think it's a nice, like it kind of balances me to go, this is something that I never want to take for granted. We take Adelaide Oval for granted. And so I never want to do that. And I never want to say, oh, I'm just going to work at Adelaide Oval. Like there's a video I watched from Ernie Johnson, who works in the NBA, and there's a key way of changing your language. And that is, I don't have to go and work at Adelaide Oval on the weekend. I get to go work at Adelaide Oval on the weekend. So changing that word "have to get" is a really nice way to reflect on the opportunities that we have, whether that's, you Ant going there and getting content for what you're doing, or Hutto, you're doing stuff for the club. Like everything's an opportunity, and to feel connected to the club. It's really nice to take a moment sometimes and just be grateful to do that. Not in a way to go, so many people would kill for your job, but just to go, we're really lucky to be able to be involved in something that we're passionate about. There is a dog that's being attacked.
We're having this beautiful chat, and this dog.
It's my dog. Yeah.
No, you should take that to the vet, I reckon. So it's a really nice thing. But also, like, honestly, and I've said this to you before, Ant, like, you came to my very first workshop. So I don't take that for granted either, because that was, nobody knew anything about it, not even me. So for you, like, trusting me and investing in me to do something like that, I'm truly grateful. And everybody that I work with, I'm grateful for. But the 20 people that were the first, like, being the first at something is a really special thing. And I was talking to, I don't mean to name drop here, but it's important that I do for the context of the story. I was talking to Eleni Gluftis about this, and she's the first women's field umpire in the AFL. And she was just talking about what she loves doing and telling her story. And I helped her understand that she's the first person that's done this. What would she like to pass on to the second person? Because the second person isn't going to be as special in not in a disrespectful way, but like, it's being the first is a really nice thing for all elements of it. So I'm really grateful that that you trusted me with that, because it was a really nerve-wracking time for myself. So and for you as well, like, Hutto, you've always been bloody kind to me, mate. So I'm happy to do anything to support you guys. This isn't me just showing my support for you guys. I'm really honored to be on something like this. So I'm always going to be backing you guys in for that. And when you go to prison for stalking Matt White.
I knew there was a gag coming. Fuck. Yeah, fair bump, mate. Yeah. But yeah, like Ed said, like, even when you tweeted, like, as soon as we launched the pod, you're just like, when am I on? We're just like, we're like, Ant and I literally said even before you tweeted, it's like, we're getting Walshy on.
Are you playing also, like, this is a video, are you gaming as well as speaking, or that's your actual microphone?
No, that's my actual microphone.
So when I had Hutto on for the first time on the pair, I literally thought it was part of his head. it was just molded perfectly.
It does. He's playing FIFA. He's playing FIFA.
I'm playing that shit right now.
No, but what Hutto's done with the Inner Sanctum as well, like, journalism and media is in such a really unique position at the moment where news breaking, I don't think, is a thing anymore. Someone breaks a story, then all the other journos comment on the story that was broken. So, and you see the social media cycle. Someone breaks a story, but a tweet under that, someone's commenting on the story that was broken, and you forget who's broken the story, all this other crap. So what you guys do is telling authentic stories in the way that it should be told, because now we have a media cycle and a media industry which is full of clickbait. As we know, there's so much pressure on young cadets and young journos to tell stories without forgetting about how it affects people. So a lot of corners are cut, and there's no accountability on the other side of things. So the opportunities that you guys give, and, Hutto, when you're on that other podcast that we don't talk about, I don't listen to, I unfollowed them. But, you were instructing everybody to, you had a team watching the Olympics, you had a team doing this. So that's something you should never stop being proud of as well, because that's a huge achievement in an industry where we thrive on bringing everybody down because we're either jealous that we haven't done the same thing, or we don't like seeing other people's success. So it's important you take a moment to reflect how good that is.
No, I really appreciate that, Walsh, because it can be tough, and it's the most rewarding thing. I think we had, what was it, Ant, about 10 guys from the Sanctum go on to get employment in different sort of journalism jobs, and some of these guys have been with us for 18 months, and to see them get the opportunity was just the best feeling. I felt like a proud dad, and that's me without any kids saying that. So it is the most rewarding thing, quite frankly, what I do right now with that. And I really appreciate those comments, mate. And I thank you for all your support that you've given us and me as well.
No problems, guys.
Yeah. Well, so you're a star, mate, and it's a pleasure to have you on. And I'm sure if anyone that is listening, if you have not had the interest to attend one of Walsh's Speak Good seminars, I guess get onto it, because it's absolutely sensational, and it's going in leaps and bounds at the moment, mate. Like, you taking it from one step to another. From when I attended last year in June, all the way to now, it's gone crazy.
Yeah, it's going all right, mate. And it's taken a natural kind of progression, which is really nice. And I've been able to, I think the most pleasing thing is being able to help people understand that we are all communicators. And if I can help connect the dots of that, like, I've had no professional media training or anything like that, and I somehow found myself in media for 20 years. So if I can help people connect with themselves and understand that they're good enough, understanding nerves and anxiety is like part of communicating and being able to tell the world who you are. Like, and I'm not going to break confidence of the people that I've worked with, but some of them, Ant, and it's just amazing to see them find themselves. And it's just a beautiful thing to be able to do that, to go, like, if I can help in any way people discover themselves and find the confidence to be able to do what they do, then that is all I want to do. So it's a really pleasing thing. Can I leave you guys with one obscure Port Adelaide dream that I've got?
Yes. Almost.
Yes.
When we used to win at Amy Stadium, we would play the club song, and then we would play the song "Power to the People."
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
I think we need to bring that back.
Yes. Put that in the meeting tomorrow night, Thursday night.
I literally
comes out.
I'm pretty sure it's on YouTube. That song was so good.
Yep.
And
do it.
Let's start that campaign.
Done. That starts. Pears on a Pod will bring back the power to the people.
Yeah.
I like that. That's a good slogan, actually. I'm just going to write that one down. And while I do that, Walshy, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on Pears on a Pod. You are a stalwart in our community, and it's been sensational to be a part of the growth that you've had, but also to helping everyone along the way. So your support's massive. So good luck Thursday night, and thank you so much for joining us.
I've got one more thing to add.
Yep. All right, go on. Floor's yours.
So I put on Twitter that I'm ready at Pears on a Pod on Twitter, and I'm holding the Creed beer, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, there was a response on Twitter from someone whose name is Josh, and he's at Crouchy35. Now, his profile pic is a house. So I said in response to Josh, "You're getting a mention on the podcast." And he wrote, "Oh, no, I have to listen to it," with a tear. So here's the deal. Josh, first of all, put your face on your profile picture and don't be anonymous. I had a look through your tweets. You abuse a lot of people, so be a better human. Second, sucked in. I made you listen to the whole podcast and get to your mention at the end. You've been listening for your mention because that's why I had a crack, because you just want to go, oh, they talked about me, yay. And you had to listen to the whole bloody thing to get to that mention at the end. So sucked in. Thanks for the listens. Go the bloody power.
Yes.
Count
Beautiful way to close.
pair.
Count
That's
the
how we
pair.
end it.